moms. Everybody at some point had one. And today we're going to take a look at some amazing and terrifying stories involving mothers. First off, what would you do if you were walking down the street one day with your mom, and then all of a sudden you saw a character from one of your favorite commercials leap into the real world? Then we take a look at the story of a mother who doesn't believe in the paranormal until it comes for her child. And finally, we take a look at the story of a mother who's doing her best to keep her family afloat, even though it's stressing her out beyond all measure. Waking up early in the morning, doing the dishes, doing the laundry, trying to get everything ready so her child will have a perfect day. But what if that's not his real mother? Today on Dead Rabbit Radio.
I'm freaked out. Actually, I'm a lot freaked out.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dead Rabbit Radio. I'm your host, Jason Carpenter. I'm having a great day. I hope you guys are having a great day too. I hope you guys had an awesome weekend. We got a lot of stuff to cover today. So first off, running into Dead Rabbit Radio Command, everyone get on your feet and give a warm round of applause for Sean. Woohoo! Yeah, he's all running on in. He's wearing his mother shirt. It's just this guy with his shirt that says mother on it in big bold letters. Sean is one of our legacy Patreon supporters. He's been supporting the Patreon for a long time, a few years at this point. Honestly, really appreciate the support. Sean, that is why you are going to be our captain, our pilot this episode. If you guys can't support the show through the Patreon or through the merch store, I totally understand. I really do. Just help spread the word about Dead Rabbit Radio. That helps out so much. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell everyone you know. Dead Rabbit Radio is your favorite paranormal show. Also, this is the week leading up to my virtual appearance at the Big Sky Paranormal Conference in Butte, Montana. I think that's how you pronounce it. Listen, man, last time I promoted this, I said it was in the wrong city. Okay? I'm just trying. People go to Bozeman, they're all driving around, they're all, Jason, where are you? It's in Butte, Montana. You see the art for today's episode, and pretty much this whole week we're going to use that cool flyer that they've made. Big Sky Paranormal Conference. Go to bigskyparanormalcon.com for more information. It's September 28th through the 29th. I will be speaking at 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on September 28th, and it is virtual. It is virtual. I had someone recently in the YouTube comments go, hey, dude, oh man, I totally want to see you in person. I will not be there in person. I want to be very clear. It's going to be a floating head in a dark theater. I don't want anyone to be disappointed. They're like, oh, I hope he autographs this shirt I just bought. They see my head. I'm like Max Headroom. Ghosts. Drink a Pepsi. That's all I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to talk about, honestly. Something cool, though. So you're like, Jason, you're really selling this. You don't know what city it takes place in. You keep referring to yourself as a giant floating head, and now you say you don't know what you're going to talk about. Well, anyways, BigSkyParanormalCon.com. I'm really grateful to be invited. We're going to have a blast. Sean, let's go ahead and get this mom-centric episode started. I'm going to toss you the keys to the... What's our most mother-appropriate vehicle? How about this? We're going to have a new vehicle for this one. The Mama mountain bike. Everyone climb on board the Mama mountain bike. As Sean rides us out of Dead Rabbit Radio Command, hit those pedals, take the Mom mountain bike all the way out to Canada. I don't know what it's supposed to sound like. Like, are you having sex with your mom, bro? No, she's like complaining. It's like Marge Simpson as you pedal. Do the dishes. That's the sound effect. We're not going to ever use that vehicle again. So anyway, to tell like, Sean's like, this is gross. The most disgusting. Anyways, let's get started here. I think it's funny because I've recently been advertising the podcast pretty heavily, so this is very likely someone's first episode. And they're like, what? Why does that bike sound like someone having sex with their mom? Anyways, we're at Canada. Specifically, we're headed to Edmonton. That's in Alberta, Canada. The year is 1978. It's a beautiful day. And Patty, who's around 4 years old, maybe a smidge younger, is walking down the street with her mother. And Patty's sister is there too, who's only 2 years old. Tiny little kiddo, that one. They're walking down the street here in Edmonton, and they turn a corner. And that is when Patty sees in front of them a man running down the street. Middle of the day, she sees a man running down the street away from them. He's wearing striped pants, so like black and white striped pants, a black and white striped shirt, a black cape, and a big black hat. He's running away. Patty's looking at this guy, and she realizes who this man is. She points to him and shouts out, "Mom! It's the Hamburglar!" You remember the Hamburglar? What? Who's that? He's not around anymore, but the Hamburglar, his real name was Hamilton B. Ergler. I looked it up. He was a villain in the world of the McDonald land. He was a guy who was always trying to steal hamburgers. Him, and he originally had a cohort, or a co-conspirator, really, named Captain Crook, who was always trying to steal Filet-O-Fishes. And people were like, yeah, here, you can have it. He has a bunch of Filet-O-Fishes. No one wants those. Hamburglar was always trying to steal hamburgers from people, and that's exactly how he was dressed. He went through some different wardrobe changes early on, but he settled in on the black and white striped clothing and his black cape and his black hat. He's running down the street. Like he had jumped out of the fictional world, the commercial world of McDonald land, into our world, and is now off on his next caper. You go, Jason, wait a second. So, is it possible that it's just a man dressed up as the Hamburglar? And this kid maybe he just recently broke out of jail. You see a bunch of dead cops laying there. They're holding in their guts. There's a police transport van tipped over. She didn't see all that stuff. You go, yeah, that's possible. We're not done with the story yet. But I remember once when I was much, much heavier, and I just moved up here to Hood River. You would never do this in California. Like most likely get your brains beat in. This never happened to me in California. But when I first moved up here to Hood River, and I was a lot heavier, I was walking down the street, and I was holding... I might have told that story before, but it is funny. It's a funny insult. I just was shocked someone would say it, because you wouldn't do stuff like this in California, because you never knew who you were talking to. I was walking down the street, and I was a big guy, and I was wearing glasses, and I was carrying a Subway sandwich. I was carrying a Subway sandwich bag down the street. I wasn't actively eating it. I was like, I can't wait till I get home. I need calories to consume for the energy to go up that hill. No, I was walking down the street, and I was holding a Subway sandwich bag, and there was a row of teenagers. Some of them were pretty young, like 12, and then I could tell some of them were like 19. I briefly looked at them, but I was like, okay, who said that? I'm walking down the street, and I'm holding a Subway sandwich bag, and someone goes, hey, look, it's Jared from Subway. And I asked for you guys to laugh. Like, that actually is kind of funny, Jason. Well, here's the thing. This was before all the other stuff. This was back when he was a beloved icon. It'd be different if someone called me that today. They're like, it's Jared from Subway, that pervert, beating him up. No, I was walking down the street. It took me by surprise. I can't, before that, I don't think I had been openly insulted by strangers in maybe 20 or 30 years. Like, as a kid, that would happen when you were walking around campus, and the fight would break out, right? You're walking around high school campus, fight break out, someone says something like that. As an adult, you would never say anything like that to an adult. I can get mistaken for Jared, especially back then when I was heavier. Maybe it's just the guy running down the street in a black and white costume. But here's the thing. It's not just that. Hamburglar is running down the street. Patty's going, Mom, look, it's the Hamburglar. Mom goes, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And Patty can't figure this out because he's not only right in front of them, not only is he dressed exactly like the Hamburglar, he's running. So right there, right, you go, hey, it's the Hamburglar. And most people go, oh, yeah, that guy does kind of look like the Hamburglar. She's going, what are you talking about? Like, she can't even see him. She's not even aware of his existence. Or maybe she does see him, but she's like, well, you shouldn't point out people. It's not just that. It's that he's running in slow motion. So, I mean, even if he was dressed up like a businessman, that would be weird enough. You figure your attention would be on the guy running in slow motion, defying all laws of physics, somehow looking like he's running fast, yet moving very, very slowly. But the mother keeps saying, I don't know what you're talking about. And every so often, the Hamburglar would look back at Patty and then turn and keep running as slow as he could down the street. And she'd go, Mom, you don't see the man? You don't see the man defying the laws of motion in front of us? That's the Hamburglar. That's the Hamburglar. And Patty keeps saying this, and the mom keeps getting madder and madder and madder until eventually the mom goes, Patty, knock it off. I don't know what you're talking about. Knock it off. So Patty did. But she kept watching this man run in front of them. And he's running in slow motion. And now when he's looking back at Patty, because every so often he'd turn around, he would be smiling. He starts laughing. But he's making no sound. At one point, Patty sees the Hamburglar run past these two women who are walking on the sidewalk as well. Running in that slow motion run. Patty goes, these other women didn't even notice him. Because it's so weird looking. Even if you just, let's take away the fact that he looks like a cartoon mascot. He's wearing a big black hat and a cape in the middle of the day. That's odd enough. But let's even take away his clothes. He's running in slow motion. That would be enough to make you step aside, to react, if someone was running slowly next to you. At this point, he's farther down the road. Even though he's running in slow motion, he's still ahead of them. Patty starts to notice that the area begins to look miragey. Kind of that wavy line, that kind of blurry optical illusion. The Hamburglar at the corner turns and looks at Patty one more time, and then runs slowly around the corner. While her mom and her sister are just walking down the street like they would normally. Patty's like, oh my God, what's going to happen around the corner? Is Grimace there? Will it be a gateway to McDonald Land? They eventually make their way to the corner, and when they get there, the street is empty of all McDonald-related characters. The Hamburglar is nowhere to be seen. And Patty wonders, she goes, I never saw him again. And I don't know if my mom saw him and was ignoring him, or if she didn't see him at all. It did seem to Patty that the two women that he ran past didn't see him at all. So it might be possible. Because again, if you're there with your kid and they keep going, it's the Hamburglar, or it's Jared from Subway, it's Jared from Subway, you'll be like, shh, don't, that's a different insult nowadays, kids. But we don't want to compare other people to the before picture of a weight loss salesperson or advertising gimmick or whatever. Don't, we'll do that at home. We'll make fun of them when we get in the car. But right now, honey, shh. But being called the Hamburglar isn't necessarily like a huge insult. So you wonder, and again, the mom could go, listen, honey, yeah, it's not the Hamburglar. I know where you're getting that from. It is quite odd, though, that he's running like he's stuck underwater. Let's turn around and go the other way. We'll go shoe shopping tomorrow. The idea of fictional characters and mainstream fictional characters coming to life is not new, even for this show. They're very rare stories to find. I'll put a couple in the show notes. But we have stories about Chester E. Cheetah, or Chester Cheetah. I don't know why I keep always throwing in the E. Chester Cheetah haunts Mexican bathrooms. That's an old episode of Dead Rabbit Radio. Characters like Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck coming out of television sets trying to kidnap children. I had that story when I was a kid where I had my, there was this cartoon that I used to love called Brave Star, like Rangers of the Mars or something like that, Rangers of the Final Prairie or something. And the action figures were probably about almost a foot tall. They were dope. And I had Brave Star, and then I had the bad guy. And I also had a deep, unsettling fear of Freddy Kruger at the time, even though I'd never seen any of his movies. I was super young. I just found the whole... I love Freddy Krueger now. I think he's probably one of the best modern cinematic villains. Best origin story, by far. But as a kid, I didn't think so. I just thought he was a terrifying freak who wanted to murder me. I remember having one of my Brave Star toys. It was the purple guy. And I remember very clearly, I don't have a lot of memories when I was a kid, but I remember the terrifying ones. It was late at night. I was out in my grandma's living room with my toys. And I don't know if I was playing with them or, sometimes kids will just have toys with them while they're like watching television or something like that. I had my villain toy from that toy line and I look and it had Freddy's face. It wasn't... The alien was a purple alien, but now it was like a flesh-covered Freddy face, and it like moved. And it terrified me. I remember throwing the toy down and running to my great-grandma's room and be like, Freddy's trying to get me, Freddy's trying to get me. So, I don't know what that was. Maybe that was a hallucination. It would be out of character. I don't hallucinate then or now. But that house ended up being really haunted. I have a ton of stories from my grandma's haunted house, but... The idea of these fictional characters, and technically Freddy Krueger is based on a true story. I'll put that episode in the show notes. Fictional characters coming into the real world, interacting with people. It does seem to happen. Now, these are just the ones I have off the top of my head. We have even more episodes. I'll see if I can find about this type of phenomenon. It does make sense when you look at the world of the paranormal, possibly having a tulpa connection. Basically, in a nutshell, mean the same thing, but if enough people believe in something, if one person believes in something so much, or enough people believe in something so much, it can actually generate a thought form of that thing. And that's, if everyone goes to a house and thinks it's haunted and the house previously wasn't haunted, there's a chance that haunting could become real, could manifest in some way. There are pros and cons to this argument. I think the biggest con to it is technically Santa Claus should be real at this point, because for more than 100 years, people have been thinking of jolly old Saint Nick, the overweight, red-wearing man with the hat coming to deliver presents. Or maybe he is. Maybe there's this bloated corpse of a guy who manifested in the North Pole. It's like, my bones hurt. And drops dead. But, that's possible. It's also possible, I think this is a little more esoteric, that we don't create characters. This is really kind of like a Chris Chan type of philosophy. We don't necessarily create fictional characters. We tap into existing worlds and go, I just came up with a great idea. What if we had this world full of talking hamburgers and there was a guy trying to steal them and a lovable clown is there to protect them? And you think you're making that up, but what you're really doing is you've tapped into a reality where mentally you've envisioned the reality that's actually real. You're quote-unquote creating these characters, but really you're just kind of getting a interpretation of them somehow into our world. So George Lucas didn't come up with Luke Skywalker. In an alternate reality, all of that stuff happened, but a long, long time ago. That's possible as well. It's also possible there was just a guy who had recently broken out of jail and was on the run, but doing it very slowly. That's the thing that trips me out the most, honestly, is if the guy wasn't the Hamburglar, if she just said I was walking down the road one day with my family and I saw a man dressed in normal clothing, but he was running in slow motion and no one else noticed it. But he knew that I noticed it, and every so often he'd look and smile, and then eventually he'd look and started laughing at me, but I didn't hear any sound, and then he turned a corner and never saw him again. I would have covered that story as well. Just because it's so bizarre. Something happened, no one else has seen it. What was really going on there? But the fact that you add that he is a rubble speaking hamburger thief makes it even more bizarre. I don't think they use him anymore, but the fact that back then they did, and she saw him and he was running in slow motion. Absolutely weird story. Even if it was a Jared from Subway type situation, I was not walking in slow motion. Although I was so heavy, they might have been. They're like, wow, dude, that guy's moving in slow motion. I was like, I'm walking as fast as I can, boys. I can't breathe them all. Oh, I wasn't that heavy. I wasn't like 600-pound life or anything like that. Anyways. Sean, let's go ahead and toss you the keys of the world-famous Carpenter Copter. We're going to leave behind Edmonton. Why don't you fly us all the way out to a sleepy suburban neighborhood? We're going to take a look at a trio of stories here, each one more disturbing than the next. Maybe, right? Maybe I have them out of order, but the point is that we're going to take a look at these stories of people interacting with their mothers in absolutely bizarre ways. First off, this one's short, but not sweet. One night, this guy says, I was just hanging out in my house, doing what I usually do. Probably playing video games and eating Doritos. Eating Subway sandwiches. I'm going to be like my hero, Jared from Subway. Man, talk about a fall from grace. That idiot, that absolute idiot, right? He's going to spend the rest of his life in prison. Because I think he got like 20 years just trying to hook up with kids and stuff like that. But he was all over every time you turn on television. Look at my giant pants. Look at these pants. Now you can fit 2 or 3 of me in. He had those giant pants. He lost all that weight. He was a millionaire. He was married, had this home, big home and all that stuff. And then turns out he's a pedophile, dude. It's like, what in the world? And he's one of those guys. He's one of those guys who, it turns out, allegedly, I don't want to get sued by his prison lawyer, but he was like always a pedophile. And then he became rich and famous, and he's like, oh, dude, you know what? This will really make easier to happen because he's a creep. He's a weirdo. Some people have so much access to stuff that they just get bored and they go, well, now what do I do? You know, I can do anything in the world, and they can be seduced into darker desires. I think you do have people like that. Then you have people who are just like, once a creep, always a creep. I'm not saying that the rich guy who's out there on Epstein Island is a saint by any means. He's also a sicko, but Jared seems allegedly like he was a pervert before he got the money. The money just made him more of a pervert. Instead of dollar signs in his eyes, it's like all this perverted stuff. I don't know what a perverted emoji looks like. But yeah, so it made it all easier for him to do. What does this have to do? I don't know how a mom-centric episode became a Jared from Subway episode. But anyways, so this guy, we'll call him Billy, is sitting at home one night, and he goes, one night, when I was just chilling, my mother legitimately tried to murder me. She had never been like that in my childhood. Never experienced anything like that. He goes, but on this particular night, her whole being changed, is how he put it. He goes, it was not my mom. It was not my mom. And she tried to kill him. She tried to murder him, and he goes, since then it had never happened again. Now, very short, right? That's the whole thing, but that's a good way to start off the next 2 stories. That was posted online by someone going by the name Lazy Transition 4256. But let's move on to a next story. This one I find absolutely fascinating. This one's in Arizona. In this sleepy suburban neighborhood in Arizona, we're about to meet a kid. Let's call him Alex. He said, growing up, my mom, not religious person, not superstitious at all. No ghosts, no zombies, no angels, none of that stuff. Didn't really believe in any of that stuff. There's a lot of people out there like that. One day, Alex is playing in their backyard. Beautiful Arizona sunshine lighting up the area. Fantastic blue sky that seems to go on forever. When all of a sudden, Alex is starting to feel heavy winds hit him. He's like, what? Oh my God. He's like, oh dude, what is going on? The whole area became very windy, and he goes, it's very unusual for this neighborhood, or really this part of Arizona. We get it, Jason. Taking your headphones off. You're like, that's annoying. It's not ASMR. The wind's blowing. All of a sudden, Mom runs out of the house and grabs Alex and says, baby, get inside. There's a witch. And she took him inside the house, closed all the curtains up, and Alex is sitting there like, what? Huh, what? I mean, I'm sure he's peeing his pants at this point. He's all, witch? But he doesn't know what's going on. His mom doesn't believe in witches. As he's watching his mother close all the blinds, he can tell that she's very, very nervous. She gives him a snack and turns the TV on extra loud. And he just ate the snack and watched TV as his mother sat there, nervously looking around. He says to this day, I have no idea what in the world that was about. My mom doesn't believe in any of that stuff. She didn't believe in it back then. She doesn't believe in it now. So I just don't know what that was about. That, again, so that story was posted anonymously. You could go, well, Jason, maybe the mom went nuts. Maybe the mom was just sitting there and all of a sudden she had a nervous breakdown and thought there was a witch coming and ran out and grabbed her kid, took him aside. He's like, I don't care. I get to watch television extra loud and eat a snack. But it was the fact of the wind blowing. That's what makes this, I think, more in the world of the paranormal rather than just a psychotic break. The wind blowing, there's already something very unusual going on. And then the mother runs out and talks about something that she does not believe in. Witches, magic, superstition. And so Alex has had a hard time kind of figuring that out. What that possibly could have meant. I mean, here's the thing. A lot of people don't believe in superstitious stuff. And then there's a smaller amount of people who don't believe in religion at all. But a rational person, if they are confronted with something that is outside of their beliefs, and they have exhausted all possible ways to explain it, I think a rational person would have to go, well, that might be true. If you do not believe in UFOs, and then you're out camping and you see a 30-foot in diameter saucer, maybe 20 feet above the tree line, and it floats over your campsite, and a little guy appears, a little gray alien appears, and he starts going through your food cooler, and he picks a bag of beef jerky up, and then he gives you a little wink, he gives you a little thumbs up, and then he disappears back into the UFO. And your beef jerky's gone. Like, that was all I had to eat. Oh no. 4 days. He took all my beef jerky. Oh, squirrels. Show me the way of the nut. Show me how to eat acorns without dying. If that happened to someone and they go, yeah, but I don't believe in UFOs. I think I just hallucinated the whole thing. I think I was up really late. I was up really late because the aliens were poking me with all these devices. I couldn't sleep, but it wasn't alien related. And I must have just eaten 4 pounds of beef jerky and forgotten about it. So I don't think it was actual aliens. I think it was a trick of the light, and Venus was unusually bright that night. And then maybe it was a bear with mange who showed up and was only 3 feet tall, could wink, and had a thumb. Maybe that explains all of that. My point being is that if you're presented with evidence that something you don't believe is actually real, hardcore evidence, and you still don't believe it, you're just being ignorant at that point. Maybe she saw a witch. That's what I'm saying. Maybe she saw... I'm not necessarily saying they're flying around on a broom or anything like that. Maybe it's just someone walking down the street in slow motion. She's like, oh no, it's the Wicked Witch of the West. She'll get here in about 3 years. And she's jogging in slow motion. We don't know what she saw, which is interesting. Because again, if she goes, honey, I saw a woman flying around on a broom. And that explained by the wind. I guess they probably need lots of wind to fly around on such a device. But, listen, she may not believe in superstitions or religion or anything like... Religion's a lot harder to prove, obviously, with, like, actual evidence, because a lot of that requires you dying. But as far as, like, supernatural ghosts and UFOs and cryptids, like, at a certain point, dude, you got kidnapped by Bigfoot. You spent 3 years being taken care of by Bigfoot. You don't believe in Bigfoot? You're like, nope. I'm like, Bigfoot's standing right next to you right now. He adopted you. He's your dad. No, I don't believe in that guy. I think it's a bear with mange. Maybe she saw a witch flying around. Maybe she saw someone in the front yard doing something and a bunch of wind was flying around and the woman started cackling. I don't know. She was green. The evidence is right there, ladies and gentlemen. Also, maybe it was October 31st. Maybe someone was wearing a costume and it became unusually windy. But I find it interesting. Someone who didn't believe in superstition. She easily could have ran out and said, son, there's a storm coming. And not... say a witch. For someone who doesn't believe in that stuff, to admit there's a witch outside the house means that she saw something that really took all of her disbelief about a subject, and in one moment, in one place in time, she had to admit, that's a witch. That actually is a witch that I'm looking at. Let's go ahead and take a look at one more mom story. Jason, is this one... It's like, Jason, this is barely paranormal. You have 2 women, one who definitely suffered a psychotic break, tried to murder her child. The second one was just a windy day. Someone came in. You spent more time talking about Jared than you did the witch. This next one better be paranormal, you say, as you show up. You have pitchforks coming to my house. I go, next one is paranormal, for sure. I think the other 2 are paranormal, but agree to disagree. The year is 2004. We're about to meet a guy. Let's call him Darren. We're going to go to the next house in the suburban neighborhood. The year is 2004. We're about to meet this young man named Darren. He's 17 years old. He yawns as he wakes up in the morning. Oh, man. I got to get ready for school. Darren, get up. And he's like, oh, what? Mom, I know I'm getting up. Get up out of bed right now. You need to hurry up. He's getting out of bed. His mom's yelling at him and he goes, this is weird. Like, listen, I do sleep in and my mom does occasionally yell at me, but she's angry. Unusually angry, he says. He's not the best kid. His parents do get mad, but he goes, there's something different in her voice. There's something off. Well, Darren starts walking down the hall. He lives in this 2-story house, and on the second story is his bedroom. It's also the laundry room. It's where they have the laundry room. And as he's walking down this hall, he hears her in the laundry room. He just hears her kind of like moving stuff around and the opening and closing of the door, of the metal washer door, doing all that stuff. He gets to the laundry room and he sees his mother there as she's frantically trying to get this load of wash started. The dryer's going right now. He can hear the tumbling of clothing inside. The washer, she's loading clothes into the washer machine, and he's kind of taken aback because by the time he gets up for work, his mother is good to go. He goes, my mom dresses up for her job. She has a job where she has to look very professional for. So at the time where he's up, She's normally showered, got the makeup on, she's dressed up, got the shoes, and she always dressed really, really nice. But now, on this particular morning, he's watching his mother throw clothes around in the laundry room, and she's completely disheveled. She's wearing nothing but a nightgown and her robe. And she's just frantically trying to get all of this sorted out. She's a sloppy, sloppy mess. Darren, I told you were supposed to get up before. How am I supposed to get all this laundry done before your work and my... Oh, Darren! She's still just unloading on her son. Talking about what a bad kid he's been recently. Talking about tests at school. All this stuff, his behavior, which that stuff may be true. But the way she's saying it, the way she looks, the way she's acting, Darren starts to feel uncomfortable. He walks away and is like, I've never seen my mom like that. I've never seen my mom out of control. I've never seen my mom dress like that. I've never seen my mom act like that. But I'm just going to go downstairs and get some breakfast before school. And as he's walking downstairs, he can still hear her grumble from the laundry room. Darren, I swear to God, you're just like your father. He gets to the bottom of the stairs, and that's when he hears a voice from the kitchen. Darren, are you finally awake? Oh my God, you sleep in all the time. Come in the kitchen to hurry up and get some cereal before school. He walks into the kitchen, and there is his mother. Makeup fully done. Neatly dressed. Hair combed, or whatever women do, brush it. Hair brushed and or combed. Shoes, nice shoes. Dressed exactly like she is always at this time in the morning, ready to go to work. She's happy. She's normal. Darren is obviously confused by what he's seeing. And his mother picks up on it. His mother sees the look in his face that he has no idea, like... Well, she doesn't know what he's thinking, right? He just looks befuddled. Honey, is everything okay? His mom says. Darren just, without a word, walks back up the stairs to the laundry room. It's empty. The washer and the dryer are both off. He even opens them up to check inside. Both of them are empty. Both of them are cold to the touch. They have not been operated in hours. Darren walked back down the stairs, just walked out to his car, and went to school. He was like, I don't know what is going on. I don't want to even have to try to explain this to my mom or deal with it. So I'm out. He said when Darren posted this online, he posted it underneath the name, the Ninja bot. He said, it tripped me out back then. And to this day, it still trips me out. I have no idea what that possibly could have been. He wonders if he was hallucinating. See, that would be the first best answer, right? That would be the if you're trying to figure out what this would be, you'd go, I must have hallucinated that. But he goes, the problem with that theory is that it's never happened before or since. I've never had such a vivid experience in my life. Ever. Or I should say a vivid, unusual experience. Because if it was a hallucination, why would it just happen that one time. It's really interesting, this story out of the three, I think the witch one's pretty paranormal, but I feel like I have to defend the previous one. The psycho mom, she again could have just snapped, but what's interesting about this one is that we talk about this before on the show. You and I, we have a language for the paranormal. We can use terms like reptilian, and both you and I would know exactly what we're talking about. We would know what they would look like. We kind of have a grasp on their origins. These are words we use a lot in the world of the paranormal. In the world of the paranormal, we almost exactly know what this is. This is an alternate timeline. What he was experiencing, what Darren was experiencing, the mechanics behind it, we can't say for sure. He didn't go, I went into the bathroom, and wouldn't you know, the portal from beyond the realms was there. Once again, I stepped through it to brush my teeth. We don't know the mechanism of it. We don't know why he ended up in one reality versus the other. But that's what this would be. He was in a moment upstairs in a reality where things weren't going great for that family. This is theory one. I got two theories, and then we'll wrap it up. Sometimes we use the term Mandela effect if it's a global shift. Sometimes we use the term retconned if it's a personal or much smaller, a Mandela effect type of thing. But the logic is still the same. It's basically dimensions merging, stuff getting overwritten, multiversal shenanigans. He's upstairs and he's in a reality where his mother doesn't have that particular job, where things may not be going well for this family at all. And she's frantically trying to get everything ready, most likely because she didn't have time the night before, because there was other chaos going on in that house that needed to be addressed. Now she's trying to make up for lost time, get her clothes ready for the day, take care of stuff for the other family and all of that. And she's just yelling. And in this reality, she's much angrier than she is in Darren's home reality, which would be our reality as well. We'll call the Darren verse from now on. So that's possible. There's no real other way to explain. I mean, skeptical will say he's just dreaming or he had a psychotic break and then he tries to murder his mom. Turnabout is fair play after all. But there's no logical way for the mother to be upstairs dressed one way and then a flight down a set of stairs in a house. What is that, 13 stairs at most? 10 maybe? For her to be completely dressed in a different part of the room, different part of the house. So something happened there. I mean, you could have the idea that he glimpsed the reality where things were going not as well for the family. That's theory one. But then I have another theory, which is a little more disturbing, and I actually feel like we have some evidence from this show to back it up. And that's that both of these moms exist in this reality, the Darren verse. But the mom upstairs in the laundry room is how the mom feels, is how the real mom feels internally. Not forever and ever, but internal to her. She may look great and have all the makeup, be ready for work, and have this perfect bubbly life ready to greet her child as he comes downstairs. Oh, Darren. But inside, she could be this raging cauldron of just chaos and uncertainty, and constantly at the last second having to readjust her life and expectations to those around her. So she may not actually be the woman in the laundry room in any sort of physical sense, but that could have been a psychic manifestation of how she feels all the time. Hey Mom, is it cool if tonight you drive me, Gary, and Joe down to the roller skating rink? Of course, honey. Yes, just let me know when they'll be over. When in fact she had plans. She had wanted to stay home and read a book or watch her favorite show or something like that. But at the last minute, these are the stories that mothers can tell you forever. They generally won't. Oh no, honey, yeah, of course, I can totally readjust everything that I had planned today because you're telling me right now you need to go to the roller skating rink when you knew you wanted to last week. You waited to the last minute. And they don't say that, They just go, of course, I can do that. I wonder if that's what happened here. She let out a psychic version of how she feels inside, and he saw it. The reason why I say we have a little bit of evidence to back that up, I find these stories so creepy. There are more than one story, I'll see if I can find them all in the show notes, of people, of dudes, technically, usually it's a guy, staying up late playing video games or doing something late at night, and their mother either opening the door to their bedroom and looking at them with the most evil expression they've ever seen on their mom. Or sometimes the mom will just like be peeking through the crack in the door at them. Just again with this absolutely evil expression, angry, hate. Anger, hate. And then the dude like totally freaks out and he finds out that his mom is actually in a different part of the house. Like the guy, the one of the story I remember the most was the guy was playing video games. He knew he was being too loud. His mom would always yell about him being too loud. And at one point he looked over and the door was open and the mom was staring at him with this hateful look on her face. And then walked away and the son got up to be like, oh my God, like to apologize to the mom or whatever. And he saw that his mom was in a different part of the house, like sitting there watching television. And he's like, there's no way she could have traveled that quickly and not been completely out of breath. She's all wiping sweat. She's like, oh, that was a really good episode of Survivor, honey. I'm breathless. And there's more. First off, you could go, well, maybe, that was just a weird one-off thing. But there are multiple stories of that, of mothers appearing incredibly angry in a place where they physically can't get there in time. And I've theorized in those past episodes that maybe the mom is sitting there and she's like, oh my God, I've told him 100 times to quit playing Call of Duty and just saying the most horrible things, calling all those people Jareds. I know it's a popular slang word nowadays. But she just is at a certain point, just like, I've yelled at him 100 times. He hasn't changed his behavior. I'm just going to swallow this rage. This is what I've been doing since I was 12. I'm just going to swallow this rage. And then a psychic version of them comes out. Because that rage has to go somewhere, right? All of those emotions have to go somewhere. Usually the good ones we can express towards people. You really love someone, you can constantly show them your love. But if you really hate somebody, you have to bury that or you're going to have trouble. So I wonder if that's what happened here. She is dressed to the nines. She's very put together. She looks like the perfect wife and mother. But inside, not all the time, but sometimes there's this different psychic ball of her pain and of her frustrations and of her dissatisfaction with the way things are. And she just has to bury that deep inside of her for the good of the family. And every so often that psychic energy is released and creates the scenario of how she truly feels. She feels disheveled. She feels like she's waiting hand and foot on everyone else. She feels like all the responsibility of the household is on her. And if she wasn't doing it, then nobody would. But she doesn't present that image to the world. It's an interesting story. I mean, it really could go either way. I don't necessarily think it was a hallucination. I think it's interesting that as he was waking up, she's yelling at him. And I wonder if the mom from the laundry room yelling is what woke him up in the first place. But it's possible he walked through two realities and he saw a version of his mom from a different world. Or he saw a psychic image of his mother and how she truly felt. Sometimes, not all the time, but how she truly felt in that particular moment. It's absolutely bizarre story either way. So that is our mother episode, our mother special. You go, Jason, why didn't you save that for Mother's Day? Well, you listen to the stories, right? Every day should be everybody's day. Every day you should tell someone close to you how much you love them, even if they did possibly try to murder you during a psychotic break. All of these stories, you're like, Jason, you just didn't plan this. I'm thinking you just had a couple stories that had a mom in them. Like, that wasn't really a thing. The first one, it was just a walking down the street. It was the daughter who saw everything. Yeah, I did just have a couple stories that had moms in them, and I go, oh, this will be cool. I'll just put them all together. A mom-centric episode, because moms are cool. I think we all have to agree, whether or not they're trying to brutally murder us or psychically creating a vision of how they truly feel. Overall, moms are pretty great. And so, yeah, I did throw a bunch of mom stories together, but I think they're pretty cool. And I do think that most of them were paranormal. You're like, I don't know, man. The first guy could have just been a really slow thief breaking out of a jewelry store. Yeah, maybe. And you're like, and the second one was just a psycho mom. Yeah, okay, well, let's not dissect the episode. I just hope that if you listen to this episode and your mother is not trying to currently murder you, call your mom. Let her know how much you love her, and say, Mom, did you ever feel inside that you were really a stressed out laundry person? Did you ever feel that we took advantage of you? She's going to be like, yes, I'm doing laundry right now. I'm doing your laundry. Why did you bring me more laundry? She hangs up. Either way, tell your mom you love her, because it's never too late to do that. I guess if your mom's dead, again, that would be... But, you can still tell your mom she's still floating around up there. Say, Mom, I love you. And then what I would recommend doing if your mom has passed away at this point, the perfect gift you could give her is take a bunch of your clothing and burn it. And now it's ghost clothing. It's a big bag of ghost clothing. You're like, here you go, Mom. Wash these for me. Because when I get up to heaven, I want to have some clean clothes. And she'll give you a little wink. She'll give you a little thumbs up. Because she's waiting for you. There's another mob sneaking up behind you. It's going to murder you. Let's go and wrap this episode up. deadrabbitradio@gmail.com is going to be our email address. You can also hit us up at deadrabbitradio.com. Wait, what is it again? deadrabbitradio.com. Wait, what is it again? deadrabbitradio@gmail.com is our email address. You can also hit us up at facebook.com/deadrabbitradio. TikTok is @deadrabbitradio. Dead Rabbit Radio is the